Assistant Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. The topic which I am going to discuss today is in an introduction to human-computer interaction. Human-computer interaction is a discipline concerned with the design, implementation, and evaluation of interactive computing systems for human use and with the study of major phenomena surrounding them. HCI is study of people, computer technology, and the ways these influence each other. We study HCI to determine how we can make this computer technology more usable by people. Human-computer interaction involves with the help of an interface. The human and the computer interacts with each other through an interface. Human is an individual user, a group of users working together, or a sequence of users in an organization. Computer is desktop computer, large-scale computer system, pocket PC, or embedded system. User interface or parts of the computer that the user contacts with. Interaction, it usually involves a dialogue with feedback and control throughout performing a task. Usually, human-computer interaction is the cognitive interaction, and this involves input-output channels. Human interaction with the outside world occurs through information being received and sent through the input-output channels. The various human input-output channels are vision, hearing, touch, environment, movement, etc. And these involves five senses. One is sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. And this human computer interaction happens through two interaction channels. One is by input devices and another one is through output devices in terms of computers. This is the overall structure of interaction design paradigms, and this involves human interaction, hardwares that is being involved in a computer, and then the softwares, and finally the artificial intelligence that communicates with the outside world. Human computer interaction model helps us to understand what is going on in the interaction between user and the system. They address the translations between what the user wants and what the system does. And it involves ergonomics, and ergonomics looks at the physical characteristics of the interaction and how these influence its effectiveness. The dialogue between user and system is influenced by the style of the interface. The interaction takes place within a social and organizational context that affects both user and the system. Here there are two interaction paradigms. One is primary interaction paradigm and another one is secondary interaction paradigm. The primary interaction paradigms uses mouse, keyboard user interface, touchscreen user interface as the input channel, and output channels are monitors, speakers, etc. The secondary interaction paradigm involves voice user interface, body movement, gesture, face, and some sensors. Humans. So first comes the humans. Humans are limited in their capacity to process information, and they have important implications for design. And information is received and responses are given through number of input-output channels. The various channels are visual channel, auditory channel, haptic channel, and movement. Information is stored in memory. Memory is a vital part of how we perceive the world around us. Human beings have both short-term and long-term memory capacities, and we can create better designs by understanding how memory works and how we can work with that capacity rather than against it. Memory is a collection of systems for the storage and recall of information. That is personal experiences, emotions, facts, procedures, skills, and habits. There are three types of memory or memory function. One is sensory memory, second one is short-term memory or working memory, and the last one is long-term memory. Sensory memory is the shortest term memory element, and it is the ability to retain impressions of sensory information about the original stimuli that have been entered. It acts as a kind of buffer for stimuli received through the five senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, which are retained accurately. The sensory memories act as buffers for stimuli received through the senses. Information is passed from sensory memory into short-term memory by attention, thereby filtering the stimuli to only those which are of interest at a given time. An example of this form of memory is when a person sees an object briefly before it disappears. Once the object is gone, it is still written in the memory for a very short period of time. The two most important types of sensory memory are iconic memory and another one is echoic memory. Iconic memory is visual and echoic memory is sound. Storage of information on sensory memory is irrelevant of attention to the stimulus. Next comes the short-term memory, and it is also known as primary or active memory. Short-term memory acts as a kind of scratchpad for temporary recall of the information which is being processed at any point in time. It is the smallest part of memory because it cannot hold much information at any one time. Its size can be estimated by measuring memory span. Information is usually stored in short-term memory in terms of the physical qualities of the experience, such as what we see, do, taste, touch, or hear. The last memory is long-term memory, and it is planned for storage information over a long period of time. There are two types of long-term memory. One is episodic memory and another one is semantic memory. In long-term memory, information is primarily stored in terms of its meaning or semantic codes. There are two types of long-term memory. One is episodic memory and another one is semantic memory. Episodic memory is part of the long-term memory and it is responsible for storing information about events. It involves conscious thought and it is declarative. An example we can tell us it would be a memory of our first day at school. And this semantic memory is structured in some way to allow access to information, representation of relations between pieces of information and inference. And one model for the way in which semantic memory is structured is as a network. Semantic memory refers to memory for word meanings, facts, concepts, and general word knowledge. Information is processed and applied with the help of reasoning, problem solving, skill acquisition, as well as error. And human and the computer interacts through the with the help of input. The human will give an input to the computer will process the input and it will generate the output. And for storage it involves various memories like sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. Computer is an electronic device and it works with information. There are various types of computers. On the basis of data handling capabilities, the computer is of three types. One is analog computer, digital computer, and the last one is hybrid computer. On the basis of size, the computer can be of five types: supercomputer, mainframe computer, mini frame or mini computer, workstation, and microcomputer. Computer system comprises various elements and each of which affects the user of the system. It uses input device, output display devices. It also consists of various devices like CPU, primary memory, and secondary memory. The various devices are input devices, keyboard, mouse, scanner. CPU is central processing unit and it has control unit, arithmetic and logic unit, clock, and registers. The various types of memory, primary memory or random access memory and read-only memory. Next comes the secondary memory. Secondary memory has HDD, that is hard disk drive, SSD, solid state drive, and optical disk. Output devices are monitors, speakers, and printers. Through these, the computer will be able to interact with the outside world. The popular computer networks are LAN, MAN, and WAN. LAN is local area network and it is a network that usually connects a small group of computers in a given geographical area. Wide area network is a WAN and this network spans to an even larger locality. It has the capacity to connect various countries together. For example, the internet is a WAN. Next one is metropolitan area network, MAN, and it is a comparatively wider network that covers large regions like towns and cities. And how information is being processed. An information system that accepts input from the external world and produces responses directly out to the external world is information processing. Information processing is the change in a state of information. It allows us to split information down into steps which can be easily read and understood by the human brain. It allows people to store, retrieve, and use information easily. There are 4 steps of how information is collected and used. The first one is observe the information. The second step is analyze the information, use the information, and finally do something with the information. Next comes how information is being executed and evaluated. Execution and evaluation is done with the help of a loop. Phases of an interaction cycles are execution and evaluation. Norman states that the model of interaction are 7 steps. The first one is user establishes the goal, formulates the intention, and next the third step is it specifies actions at interfaces. Stage 4 is executing the action. Step 5 is perceiving the state of the world. Sixth step is interpreting the state of the world, and the last one is evaluating the outcome. This information processing involves MHIP. An important concept from cognitive psychology is the model human processor, that we call it as MHIP, that is model human information processor. This describes the cognitive process that helps people go through between perception and action. The model human processor consists of 3 interacting systems. Each has its own memory and processor. The first one is perceptual processor, the second one is cognitive processor, and the last one is motor processor. The perceptual processor outputs into audio storage. It also outputs into visual storage. The cognitive processor outputs into working memory. It has access to working memory and long-term memory. The last one is motor processor, and it carries out actions. This is how information is being processed by the system. Thank you.